Diary. Back at home, out of college, 1723. Wednesday, forenoon, May 1st. Last night I came home, after my melancholy parting from New York. I have always, in every different state of life that I have been in, thought that the troubles and difficulties of that state were greater than those of any other state that I proposed to be in. And when I have altered, with assurance of mending myself, I have still thought the same, yea, that the difficulties of that state are greater than of those that I left last. Lord, grant that from this time I may learn to withdraw my thoughts, affections, desires, and expectations entirely from the world, and may fix them upon a heavenly state, where there is fullness of joy, where reigns heavenly, sweet, calm, and delightful love without alloy, where there are continually the dearest expressions of this love, where there is the enjoyment of this love without ever parting, and where those persons who appear so lovely in this world will be inexpressibly more lovely and full of love to us. How sweetly will those who thus mutually love join together in singing the praises of God and the Lamb. How full will it fill us with joy to think that this enjoyment, these sweet exercises, will never cease or come to an end, but will last to all eternity. Remember, after journeys, removals, overturnings, and alterations in the state of my life, to reflect and consider whether in this I have managed the best way possible respecting my soul, and before such alterations, if foreseen, to resolve how to act. Thursday, May 2nd, afternoon. I observed this, that when I was at New York, when I meditated on things of a religious nature, I used to conceive of myself as walking in the fields at home. But now I am at home, I conceive of myself as walking in the fields which I used to frequent in New York. I think it a very good way to examine dreams every morning when I awake. What are the nature, circumstances, principles, and ends of my imaginary actions and passions in them, in order to discern what are my prevailing inclinations, and so on. Saturday night, May 4th. Although I have in some measure subdued a disposition to chide and fret, yet I find a certain inclination which is not agreeable to Christian sweetness of temper and conversation, either too much dogmatism or too much egotism, a disposition to manifest my own dislike and scorn, and my own freedom from those which are innocent, sinless, yet common infirmities of men, and many other such like things. Oh, that God would help me to discover all the flaws and defects of my temper and conversation, and help me in the difficult work of amending them, and that He would grant me so full a measure of vital Christianity that the foundation of all these disagreeable irregularities may be destroyed, and the contrary sweetnesses and beauties may of themselves naturally follow. Sabbath morning, May 5th, made the 47th resolution. Monday morning, May 6th. I think it best commonly to come before God 3 times in a day, except I find a great inaptitude to that duty. Saturday night, May 11th. I have been to blame the month past in not laying violence enough to my inclination to force myself to a better improvement of time. Have been tardy with respect to the 47th resolution. Have also been negligent about keeping my thoughts when joining with others in prayer. Sabbath morning, May 12th. I have lost that relish of the Scriptures and other good books which I had 5 or 6 months ago. Resolved, when I find in myself the least disposition to exercise good nature, that I will then strive most to feel good-naturedly. At noon, observed to remember the meditations which I had at Westchester, as I was coming from New York, and those which I had in the orchard, and those under the oak tree. This day and the last night I read over and reviewed those reflections and remarks, which I find to be a very beneficial thing to me. After the afternoon meeting, I think I find in my heart to be glad from the hopes I have, that my eternity is to be spent in spiritual and holy joys, arising from the manifestation of God's love, and the exercise of holiness, and a burning love to Him. Saturday night, May 18th. This week past spent in journeying to Norwich, and a town thereabouts. This day returned and received a letter from my dear friend Mr. John Smith. The last Wednesday took up a resolution to refrain from all manner of evil speaking for 1 week, to try it, and see the effect of it, hoping, if that evil speaking which I used to allow myself in and to account lawful, agreeably to the resolutions I have formed concerning it, were not lawful or best, I should hereby discover it, and get the advantage of temptations to it, and so deceive myself into a strict adherence to my duty respecting that manner, that corruption which I cannot conquer by main strength, I may get the victory of by stratagem. I find the effect of it already to be to make me apt to take it for granted that what I have resolved on this week is a duty to be observed forever. I now plainly perceive what great obligations I am under to love and honor my parents. I have great reason to believe that their counsel and education have been my making, though, in the time of it, it seemed to do me so little good. I have good reason to hope that their prayers for me have been, in many things, very powerful and prevalent, that God has, in many things, taken me under His care and guidance, provision and direction. In answer to their prayers for me, I was never made so sensible of it as I am now. I think it the best way in general not to seek for honor in any other way than by seeking to be good and to do good. I may pursue knowledge, religion, the glory of God, and the good of mankind with the utmost vigor, but I am to leave the honor of it entirely at God's disposal, as a thing with which I have no immediate concern. No, not although, by possessing that honor, I have the greater opportunity to do good. Remember to be particularly careful lest I should be tardy in any point, wherein I have been negligent, or have erred in days, weeks, months, or years past. Sabbath day morning, May 19th. With respect to my journey last week, I was not careful enough to watch opportunities of solemnly approaching to God 3 times a day. The last week, when I was about to take up the Wednesday resolution, it was proposed to me in my thoughts to omit it until I got home again, because there would be a more convenient opportunity. Thus am I ready to look at anything as an excuse to grow slack in my Christian course. At night, concluded to add to my inquiries as to the spending of the time at the beginning of the day or the period. What can I do for the good of men? And at the end, what have I done for their good? Tuesday morning, May 21st. My conscience is undoubtedly more calm since my last Wednesday resolution than it was before. Wednesday morning, May 22nd. Memorandum. To take special care of the following things: evil speaking, fretting, eating, drinking, and sleeping, speaking simple truth, joining in prayer, slidiness and secret prayer, listlessness and negligence, and thoughts that cherish sin. Saturday morning, May 25th. As I was this morning ready in the 17th resolution, it was suggested to me that if I were now to die, I should wish that I had prayed more, that God would make me know my state, whether it be good or bad, and that I had taken more pains and care to see and narrowly search into the matter. Therefore, memorandum, for the future, most nicely and diligently to look into the opinions of our old divines concerning conversion. This morning made the 48th resolution. Monday afternoon, May 27th. Memorandum, not only to keep from an air of dislike, anger, and fretfulness in discourse or conversation, but let me also have as much of an appearance of love, cheerfulness, and benignity as may be with a good grace. These following things especially to be aware of, in order to the better observation of the 47th resolution: distrust, discontent, uneasiness, and complaining temper, self-opinion, self-confidence, melancholy, moroseness, slight antipathy, privacy, indolence, and want of resolution to beware of anything in discourse or conversation that savors of these. Saturday night, June 8th, at Boston, when I find myself listless and dull, and not easily affected by reading religious books, then to read my resolutions, remarks, reflections, and so on. One thing that would be of great advantage to me in reading to my profit would be the endeavoring with all my might to keep the image and picture of the thing in my mind, and be careful that I do not lose it in the chain of the discourse. Sabbath day, June 9th. After the afternoon meeting, memorandum, when I fear misfortunes, to examine whether I've done my duty, and at the same time to resolve to do it, and let it go and be concerned about nothing but my duty and my sin. Saturday morning, June 15th, at Windsor. Having been to blame, this journey with respect to strict temperance in eating, drinking, and sleeping, and in allowing two small matters to give interruption to my wonted chain of religious exercises, concluded to protract a Wednesday resolution to the end of my life. Tuesday morning, June 18th. To do that part which I conveniently can of my stated exercise, well about other business, such as self-examination, resolutions, and so on, that I may do the remainder in less time. Friday afternoon, June 21st. I have abundant cause, O my merciful Father, to love you ardently, and greatly to bless and praise you, that you have heard me in my earnest request, and so have answered my prayer for mercy, to keep me from decay and sinking. O graciously of your mere goodness, still continue to pity my misery by reason of my sinfulness. O my dear Redeemer, I commit myself together with my prayer and thanksgiving into your hand. Saturday morning, June 22nd, altered the 36th resolution to make it the same with the Wednesday resolution. If I should take special care every day to rise above, or not to fall below, or to fall as little as I possibly could below what I was the day before, it would be of great advantage to me. I take notice that most of these determinations, when I first resolve them, seem as if they would be much more beneficial than I find them. Tuesday morning, June 25th, last Sabbath, at Boston, reading the 6th, 7th, and 8th verses of the 6th to the Ephesians, concluded that it would be much to my advantage to take the greatest care never to do anything but my duty, and then to do it willingly, cheerfully, and gladly, whatever danger or unpleasant circumstances it may be attended with good will doing it is to the Lord, not as pleasing man or myself, knowing that whatsoever good thing any man does, the same shall he receive of the Lord. Saturday morning, June 29th. It is best to be careful in prayer, not to put up those petitions of which I do not feel a sincere desire, thereby my prayers rendered less sincere, less acceptable to God, and less useful to myself. Monday noon, July 1st. I find I am not careful enough to keep out all thoughts but religious ones on the Sabbath, when I find the least uneasiness in doing my duty to fly to the 43rd resolution. Wednesday night, July 3rd, I am too negligent with respect to improving petty opportunities of doing good. thinking that the good will be very small and unextended and not worth the pains. Resolve to regulate this, at that which is wrong, what ought not to be, again confirmed by experience of the happy effects of a strict temperance with respect both to body and mind. Thursday morning, July 4th, the last night in bed when thinking of death. I thought if I was then to die, that which would make me die in the least degree fearfully would be the want of a trusting and relying on Jesus Christ, so distinctly and plainly, as has been described by divines, by not having experienced so particularly of venturing and entirely trusting my soul on Christ after the fears of hell and terrors of the Lord, encouraged by the mercy, faithfulness, and promises of God, and the gracious invitations of Christ. Then I thought I could go out of the world as much assured of my salvation as I was of Christ's faithfulness, knowing that if Christ did not fail me, he would save me, who had trusted in him on his word. At night, whenever things begin to seem in the least out of order, when things begin to feel uneasy within, or irregular without, then to examine myself by the strictest examination, resolve for the future to observe rather more of meekness, moderation, and temper in disputes. Friday morning, July 5th. Last night, when thinking what I should wish I had done, that I had not done, if I was in to die, I thought I should wish that I had been more importunate with God, to fit me for death, and lead me into all truth, and that I might not be deceived about the state of my soul. In a forenoon made the 50th resolution. Thursday night, July 11th. This day too impatient at the church meeting. Snares and briars have been in my way this afternoon. It is good at such times for one to manifest good nature, even to one's disadvantage, and so as would be imprudent at other times. Saturday morning, July 13th. Transferred the conclusion of June 9th to the resolution, number 25, and so on. In times past I have been too free in judging of the hearts of other men and their actions. Thursday, July 18th, near sunset. Resolved to make sure of that sign which the Apostle James gives of a perfect man. James 3, verse 2. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body. Friday afternoon, July 19th, 1 Peter 2, verse 18. Servants, be subject to your masters with all fear, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the froward. How then ought children to honor their parents? This verse, together with the two following, namely, for this is thankworthy, if a man for conscience toward God endure grief, suffering wrongfully. For what glory is it if when you are buffeted for your faults you shall take it patiently? But if, when you do well and suffer for it, you take it patiently, this is acceptable with God. Saturday noon, July 20th. Thomas Manson's sermon on the 119th Psalm. A people speaking. Application. The second. To them that either devise or receive reproaches, both are very sinful. Hypocrites and men that put themselves into a garb of religion are all for censoring. They take a mighty freedom that way. These men betray the rottenness of their hearts. Alas, in our own sight we should be the worst of men. The children of God, whoever thus speak of themselves as the least of saints, the greatest of sinners, more brutish than any man of sinners, whereof I am the chief. You rob them of the most precious treasure. He that robs you of your good name is a worse kind of thief. Proverbs 22, verse 1. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches. Objection. But must we in no case speak evil of another, or may we not speak of another sin in any case? Solution 1. It is a very hard matter to speak evil of another without sin. In one way or another we shall dash upon the command. It is better to let it alone. If you speak of the failings of another, it should be with tenderness and grief, as when they are incorrigible and likely to infect others, or when it is for the manifest glory of God. To them that receive the slander, he is a slanderer, who wrongs his neighbor's credit by upholding an ill report against him. In quote, Thomas Manton. Monday afternoon, July 22nd. I find it would be desirable on many accounts always to endeavor to wear a benign aspect and air of acting and speaking in all companies, except it should so happen that duty requires it otherwise. I am afraid that I am now defective in not doing whatever my hand finds to do with my might, with respect to my particular affairs. Remember to watch, see and know how it is. See, there is a danger of my being drawn into transgression by the power of such temptations as a fear of seeming uncivil and of offending friends. To watch against it, I might still help myself and yet not hurt myself by going with greater expedition from one thing to another, without being quite so nice. Tuesday afternoon, July 23rd, when I find those groanings which cannot be uttered, of which the apostle speaks, and those soul breakings for the longing it has, of which the psalmist speaks in Psalm 119, verse 20, resolved to favor and promote them to the utmost of my power, and not to be weary of earnestly endeavoring to vent my desires, and not to be weary of the repetitions of such earnestness. To count it all joy when I have occasion of great self-denial, because then I have a glorious opportunity of giving deadly wounds to the body of sin, and of greatly confirming and establishing the new creature. I seek to mortify sin and increase in holiness. These are the best opportunities according to January 14th entry in the diary. To improve afflictions of all kinds as blessed opportunities of forcibly hearing on in my Christian course, notwithstanding that which is so very apt to discourage me and to damp the vigor of my mind, and make me lifeless also, as opportunities of trusting and confiding in God and getting a habit of so doing, according to the 57th resolution, and as an opportunity of reining my heart off from the world, and setting it on heaven alone, according to January 10th, and the 43rd and 45th resolutions. To improve them also as opportunities to repent of, and bewail my sin and abhor myself, and as a blessed opportunity to exercise patience, to trust in God, and divert my mind from the affliction by fixing myself in religious exercises. Also let me comfort myself that it is the very nature of afflictions to make the heart better. And if I am made better by them, what need I be concerned however grievous they seem for the present? Wednesday night, July 24th. I begin to find the success of my striving and joining with others in the worship of God, insomuch that there is a prospect of making it easy and delightful and very profitable in time, wherefore resolve not to cease striving, but to continue it and redouble it. Thursday morning, July 25th, altered and anew established the 8th resolution, also established my determination of April 1st. Memorandum: at a convenient time to make an alphabet of these resolutions and remarks, that I may be able to educe them on proper occasions suitable to the condition I am in, the duty I am engaged in. Friday afternoon, July 26th. To be particularly careful to keep up inviolably a trust and reliance, ease and entire rest in God, in all conditions according to the 57th resolution. For this I have found to be wonderfully advantageous to me. Friday night, resolved very much to exercise myself in this, all my life long, namely, with the greatest openness of which I am capable, to declare my ways to God and lay open my soul to Him, all my sins, temptations, difficulties, sorrows, fears, hopes, desires, and everything, and every circumstance, according to Thomas Manton's 27th sermon on the 119th Psalm. Saturday, forenoon, July 27th. When I am violently beset with temptation, or cannot rid myself of evil thoughts, to do some in arithmetic or geometry or some other study which necessarily engages all my thoughts, and unavoidably keeps them from wandering. Monday afternoon, July 29th, when I am concerned how I shall prepare anything to public acceptance, to be very careful that I have it very clear to me to do what is duty and prudence in the matter. I sometimes find myself able to trust God, and to be pretty easy when the event is uncertain, but I find it difficult when I am convinced beforehand that the event will be adverse. I find that this arises, 1, from my lack of faith to believe that that particular advantage will be more to my advantage than to my disadvantage. 2, from the lack of a due sense of the real preference of that good which will be obtained to that which is lost. And 3, from the lack of a spirit of adoption. Tuesday night, July 30th. Have concluded to endeavor to work myself into duties by searching and tracing back all the real reasons why I do not do them, and narrowly searching out all the subtle subterfuge of my thoughts and answering them to the utmost of my power, that I may know what are the very first originals of my defect, as with respect to lack of repentance, love to God, loathing of myself, to do this sometimes in sermons, especially to take occasion from this to bewail those sins of which I have been guilty, that are akin to them, as for instance from pride in others, to take occasion to bewail my pride, from their malice to take occasion to bewail the same in myself, when I am evil spoken of, to take occasion to bewail my evil speaking, and so of other sins. Memorandum, to receive slanders and reproaches as glorious opportunities of doing this. Wednesday afternoon, July 31st. After afflictions, to inquire what am I the better for them, what good I have got by them, and what I might have got by them, never in the least. To seek to hear sarcastic relations of others' faults, never to give credit to anything said against others, except there is very plain reason for it, nor to behave in any respect otherwise for it.